Welcome to the Escarpment. This is my model railway build channel and I'm your host Jason. Today's video is another update, but this time for October 2021. In a moment I'm going to take you around and take you through some of the stuff that I've got in progress and that's been completed since the last video. There's a whole bunch of fascia work. I've got the floating helix completed and a lot of stuff between the helix and level 2. That fascia has all been built out. I'm also going to take you around and sort of just take you through some of the thoughts of late with some of the track work on level 1. You see, for those that saw my last video, the golden spike, there was still some thoughts floating around with changing configurations on some of the existing track work down here. Well, I think now I've got what I think I need to do, and I'll take you through that with just some of my thought processes, etc. Lately there's been a few requests to do a full coal run starting down here in the coal yard and down on level 1 and moving our way all the way up to level 3 to the coal loader and then all the way back down to level 1, showing off how the trains or the coal trains will come down and go through the configuration to unload the coal. Now I do plan to do that, so that's probably the reason why this video has been put out a little bit earlier this month. So hopefully before the end of the month I'll have that video put together and I'll release it as soon as I can. So how about we go and check out what's been happening. Alright, look, I'm going to start over here with the LED power box. So you can see from the last video I've actually got it completed and installed, and basically it's ready to go. And you can see there I've got level 1, level 2 and the total power readouts both from the voltage and ampage point of view. It's a nice little unit, works well. You can see there level 1, level 2, as mentioned in previous videos, being completed and ready to go. So other than that, I'm going to show you the work that's been happening on the floating helix with the fascia. Now you can see here, I think from the last video, all this stuff here wasn't in place. So you can see I've got the backdrop ready to go. It's all in place, painted. I still got just a minor fix over here on this side to fill in, just make sure it's all nice and smooth. I've got where the tunnel portal will be. I've got the fascia backdrop from that. I think in hindsight I probably should have made that a little bit higher, at least up to this height across here, because I will be putting another backing board behind there, and that'll be cliff front around that portal there. But anyway, I'll work around that. I'm sure I'll come up with a solution. And you can see there, you probably would have only, I think in the last video maybe, or maybe not, I can't remember actually, whether I had this structure in place. And it's really just a framework to build out where that single portal will be. It'll probably actually sit out a little bit further and all that's going to be hillside trees, etc, etc. So we might just go around to the other side of this helix, because that's all now been completed and it's in place, painted, etc. So as you can see here, so this part over here wasn't in place, so I've got all that all been cut out. I've joined this and that part together here, and that's worked out really well. I've sort of got, as a saw on the other side, I've got this backdrop in place now, and obviously this sort of divider here, because basically the rail coming through there on this side, this will be a branch line, there'll be a bridge here, that'll be a river, and I think level 2 will end up being all about the loco, maintenance yards, depot, etc. And then level 3 will be about the coaches, passenger coaches, etc. That was a fair amount of work, but really happy with that. And it's pretty much done. I don't think there's anything left to do on this side. Not too far down the track, it's obviously putting in or starting to build and installing my control panels for all the points around the layouts. Now that's not the design, that just was an old one which I've sort of just been lining up. I've got a bunch of perspex that have come in to line up with these type of frames that I've got. But anyway, there'll be another video down the track sort of taking you through on how I've approached that. Larger radius set of curved points has turned up, and what I've got planned there is to replace this one. You can sort of see if I place it over the top, and I'll get a better shot here. It doesn't change this angle at all. That's quite a nice curve. It's just a bit longer. It just allows a better radius, and that would look quite nice. So basically, not a lot of work there. I'll just take that one out, cut these ones back a little bit, put that one in, and it'll be good to go. The good thing is I'll just need to change that to the other side. It'll fit into the exact same space here, so I don't need to drill anything further as far as the point motors go. I'll probably do for the wiring, because obviously it's longer and the wiring holes will be up here further, but that's only a minor job. That's not anything of major concern. Back to the last video, I mentioned that this configuration down here, I was going to do the same thing but in the opposite direction. So when the coal train comes back around, it can, if it doesn't go back up to level 3, it can cross the main and get onto the main track into the yards. I'm still going to do that, but what's going to change now, and this is some of the additional thinking that I've been doing, because I've sort of been re-looking at some of the configuration down here on level 1. Now I don't have any major plans, but I think some nice tweaks will be in order. Now starting with this one here, I'm going to replace this with the single slip. It'll give me the option of basically, as the train comes back on the down line, it can actually either switch to over here from this track, because right now as it comes in, going through these diamond crossing, you know, it can't switch over. And what that allows me to do is to potentially take out these two set of points. This one here becomes redundant, so I was thinking of reusing those two further down, but allowing it to switch between these two tracks, so the fourth one here and the third main one to the coal yard. I guess it's a little bit more efficient with the use of track. But what I'll need to do is basically, I can't just put this one in here, because what's happening underneath, there's main framework here and a main framework there, and then there's only a small gap here, and then obviously with this single slip I'll need two point motors underneath. So what I plan to do is bring it down further, take these two here and bring them down further as well. I've also put just the framing of the station platform down here on level 1. And this is a terminus station down here, as you can see. Got the buffer. This one's a lot smaller. It's only a minor station. It'll probably take at least 4 of these long, maybe 5. But it basically fits into what you sort of see down at Port Kembla. You know, it's not prototypical, but it's just, it gives you the essence of Port Kembla. It still works. Now, one of the other things I've progressed this month is I've started to fit the fascia on this first helix. Now this helix takes trains from level 1 up to level 2, and you can see over that far side there, that's my Stanmore Park viaduct. Still has plenty of work to do, and hopefully once I get a lot of this fascia and a lot of this list done, you can see I've got quite a few things crossed off, and then we'll start on the terraforming, and it'll start to take more shape, and you'll get a bit more of an idea of what's currently in my head and how it all fits together. So I'll take you around here. I've just put the first coat on at the moment, and that's probably still drying in places, but happy with that. It's not as perfect as this first one, only due to the fact, for those that have been following me since the beginning, on my last channel, you would have seen the first build of this, well, the first helix build, and obviously there was a bit of an error, and I had to come and correct that. And I must admit, I didn't quite do it justice, only due to the fact when I've gone back or got to this stage to put the fascia on, it wasn't a clean 90-degree angle, and you can probably see, you know, there's certain areas in between here that's got a few little gaps here and there, and I may fill out, I may just leave. Anyway, so coming around to this other side here. Now basically, as I mentioned earlier, here's just still a small area to complete. I'm probably going to cut this bottom one back a little bit and put a full one in, because obviously this section here I'll make one piece, but it also needs to come up here on this side just to sort of help frame that scene as it comes out of the tunnel portal. Now I've got a bunch of stuff on order, especially around this area. I know there was a lot of confusion when I spoke about this in my last video, and I think I'm not going to try to articulate it any further, but I think once I start getting the structure in place, people will understand where I'm sort of coming from. So really, this will still be divided with two scenes. So on this other side, you'll have the viaduct scene, and then you'll have a small scene down here on this side. It will still have backdrops, but what I plan to do is this section here will be within a tunnel, probably about from there over to here, but it won't be fully enclosed. It'll be done as in half a tunnel, so you'll be able to see inside and all those details, etc. But you know, obviously the tunnel will only be up here, so it gives a lot more room up here for the backdrop to allow, I guess, more room to do the scenery justice on that side for the viaduct. But anyway, look, as that progresses, you'll get a bit more of an idea of where my thoughts are, and it'll take shape, and you'll go, ah, that's what you meant. So that's the progress to date, and I'm pretty happy with where I am at the moment. So in the last video, you would have seen the list that I had. I need to get through that, or I want to get through that before I even start on the next major phase, which will be terraforming and putting in styrofoam and getting some of the landscapes sorted. Well, I'm slowly getting through that list, so it's been good progress to date, and I'm still only halfway through October, so that's a good sign. Now, just as a bit of news, I'm actually in, well, the ACT's sort of coming out of lockdown, but unfortunately I've got to isolate for another 14 days. You see, I had a bit of a close contact with someone that's been positive with COVID, so it's all good. I've had a test. It's come back negative, but yeah, it was a bit stressful and a little bit scary there for a moment, but everything's okay at the moment. I'm still waiting for ACT Health to contact and work through what further testing I've got to do during this isolation period. Other than that, I guess I'm just going to continue with the list. Obviously, I've got to, you know, come back, put the second coat on to this helix. I've got some of the fascia on the other side, just a small section there I've got to finish off. And obviously that list from last week, there's a few items, and obviously up here with level 3 I'll get back to and start doing some of the fascia, including some of the background fascia behind the train. So I want to make sure that's all done and dusted before I start building out anything on the front. So until the next video, stay safe and bye for now.